Hello there. My name is Gilbert Velasquez, and welcome to our little podcast adventure. Rebecca approached me explaining her idea for the show, and I gave her my support. She said we could discuss things like music and everything that applies to it, okay? I have the resources to do this, and I support whatever we can do here to kind of further the genre, okay? But I did want to say that the opinions and views and comments said on this show do not have anything to do with my, whatever it is I represent. This is what you would call a disclaimer, okay? So I look forward to the show and everything that goes with it, and just keep that in mind. People are free to say whatever they want here. Doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what I think or say. And let's see where this goes. So there.
Welcome to the first ever Tejano Round Table, a neutral table consisting of 4 industry professionals whose knowledge, experience, and dedication give them the insight on what, who, and why things happen, how they happen then, and how things are changing to fit today's current environment. So today's panel, we're bringing together FM radio, internet radio, record label, royalty, and of course Tejano's fastest climbing hit-making band leaders. Bam! There you go. How about that for an intro?
Sauce.
First up, a man whose radio history puts him at the forefront of internet radio, a man whose integrity managed to allow him to survive or thrive, for that matter, in an ever-changing musical climate. Please welcome Mr. Dave Biondi. Say hello, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that check must have cleared.
From BNet Radio, Dave Biondi. Also on our panel today, on the other side of radio, we have the man who can bounce from on-air personality to jamming nightclub DJ, whose ear you wish to gain favor from, but most of us never do. Please welcome from KLMO Radio, DJ Bigg Boyee.
Hey, thank you.
Yes.
Yay.
That check might bounce, just to let you know.
Right, I know, right?
Just saying.
I didn't send it, so I guess it's okay.
All right.
From San Antonio, the sexy big band upriser, who's got cat class and he's got cat style. Highly recognizable looks, and his strong connection within the Onda gives him the freedom to roam just about anywhere he pleases with the utmost respect. Please welcome Mr. Mike Torres from LA 45. Is it La 45 or LA 45?
It's La 45, but like I tell you,
I got it all wrong. But
you call us whatever you want, just buy a ticket to see us. That's all.
LA
That's all I care about.
45. La 45. That's my radio voice. That's about as good as it gets. And last but not least, we have Tejano Music Royalty, a woman who grew up around some of Tejano Music's most massive hit-making superstars, whose family still handles and enhances the careers of so many Tejanos. A beauty, a powerhouse, a person who yields maybe more power than she thinks. Maybe. Please welcome from Hacienda Records, Chel.
It is a pleasure to be here.
Thank
I'm excited to be here with all of you guys. You guys are all pretty awesome. So we're going to have some fun today.
We're going to have something. Hopefully, in the midst of everything, some fun will be had. Thank you all for being here today to open peaceful discussions on today's topic, which is peaceful discussions on our topics today: radio, FM, AM, and internet radio, and of course record label obligations. Our first question comes anonymously. All of the questions, oddly enough, are gonna be anonymous. Yes.
Before we do our question, we should acknowledge the wizard
Oh
behind
yeah,
the curtain there.
Yeah,
where's the wizard?
Yeah, we got to acknowledge him.
Mr. Gibby Velasquez, who's making all of this possible. He's allowing us to use his studio.
Yeah, welcome
and,
everybody.
Of course,
Thanks
his
for being
time,
here.
which is worth so much money. And whose ear also we wish to gain favor with, but most of us never do. Let's see.
True
Our
story.
first question is, what does a conversation sound like between a record label and a radio station? Like, what sort of communication needs to take place between a record label and a radio station?
Well, we've had a lot of those, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
Being a program director myself and a music director, most of the conversations consist of this: no,
No.
same, simple as that. No.
And is that no because the product isn't good enough, or?
I mean, there's a lot of factors you might want to consider in. I mean, first, like when I was a program director, music director, I was doing contemporary hits radio, which is CHR Top 40, right? And their playlists are usually super tight, anywhere between 89 to maybe 212, and that's including recurrence, old school, variety, and all that stuff. So when you got a new artist that's coming up or new music, your new music category is very, very limited because the idea of the game is just basically this: more listeners, more often, and everyone's fighting for 15 minutes. You know, being in the game for over 30 years, that's the one thing that I've seen time and time again. Doesn't matter what the format is. More listeners, more often. Now, the game may have changed from writing it down to digital and all that stuff, but it still remains the same. So when I talk to record people, the first thing I always tell them is that I know my market. I've been entrusted with this title to entertain this market. So please, know that you're talking to someone who has his finger on the pulse of the city. Anybody who sits in a programming position has to know that. That's why it's probably one of the hardest jobs out there. I mean, being an entertainer, that's easy. Get up, make an ass out of yourself, go home, you're done for the day. Program directors, they got to worry about music selection, music placement, music endurance, in other words, how long it lasts on rotation, rotations about it, where to properly put a commercial stop set so we could all get paid, right? So I tell record people, like, don't pull my leg that this radio station's on. Don't tell me what other people are doing. Tell me how this is going to help out in my front yard, because I got my backyard taken care of. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Now, and that being said, the radio, again, time is money, right? Their
Time is
job
money.
is to make money. But if we don't give new artists a chance, what happens is the market will continue playing the same numbers forever. The artists die off, and we're still playing the same numbers, and we don't have any new and upcoming groups. And what's important from the label side is that we develop relationships where we can say, hey, check this artist out and give us your opinion. Because these are the guys that know.
Yeah. Would
And,
you say that
you know,
that the radio industry is what yields the most power when it comes to starting your own, like, Tejano career, for that matter? Is it these guys that we have to impress the most, or where does that? What's the most important thing or aspect of releasing a new song?
Well, I think two things for that. I think it depends on what your goal is.
I want to be famous.
And how you're achieving that. Because we all know, without saying names, and I think we're in a safe space, right? We're not trying to diss anybody, but we're also trying to be honest about what's
People
going
will
on
post
here.
names in the comments. It's cool.
We're all trying to be honest about what goes on here. Just because you have the money to produce a record and try to get it on radio, if that's all you're doing without the other side of being an artist, which is performing and being on the road and honing your craft as a musician or vocalist or whatever you are, whatever your part in that gig is, it's kind of a disservice to those of us that are, because it's like, man, these guys are, yes, they have the money to get, for instance, Gilbert, one of the greatest producers to produce Tejano music.
He's all right.
He can make them a hit record. He can make them a hit record and get the top players in town to do it. But then what do they do with that? How do you go reproduce that live? How do you go play anywhere to build your crowd besides just getting it on radio? So I don't know that it's the
So
it may be the
it's a
top.
combination.
It may be
yeah.
the top, but it's definitely not all that we have to do, right? You have to be willing to put in the rest of the work. The work doesn't stop on the artist side. The work doesn't stop when the CD's pressed. It doesn't stop when it gets sent out to radio. I mean, it just doesn't. It
That's
can't,
when it really begins, when
Yeah,
it gets sent out to radio.
and that's where it gets hard. And we started a small label here, and we only have a few artists that we're putting out this summer, and it's
I'm
been
available.
like.
Just saying.
Well, and it's been hard because it's like she was saying, to get new music on is tough. Yes. But I think Bigg Boyee can attest to this. We've been sending music for a couple years before it finally got to where, okay, that's good. And I think artists and labels, upcoming labels, anybody that's talking about it needs to not take it personally. Like it's just, we're fighting for, like they said, for this very small amount of space for us to get new stuff on there. And we can't take it personal when it doesn't happen, and we can't be like, oh, well, forget them. I'm not going to send them shit anymore.
Keep trying and do
Yeah,
better.
and because it doesn't even mean that it was bad. It just means there was other stuff better at that time. Maybe that's what happened, you know.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
I got it really good, but then Jay Pettis came out.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
dang it.
and it happens. It happens. Yeah.
You know, one of the nice things about internet radio is it's different from terrestrial radio in the fact that our average time spent listening is 30 to 45 minutes. So we can add more new stuff. Our new music rotation, for instance, we still play like 5 or 6 times a day, every song that's in there. And so that gives, we can have like 20 or 30 new songs every week and still give them the proper attention. And again, you got to play it before you're going to see whether or not it even works.
Right.
That doesn't mean every song that's in there is going to be a hit. And we have to find that out. But when you're limited in your playlist, it doesn't give you a real chance to see if that artist has something really good going,
And to expand on that, like when I was giving you my example of how I think record labels should be talking to programmers, I mean that's when I was saying in CHR with the Tejano music, it was something different. It was something that that I had to learn, from jump. Like you're going in the deep end, and good luck. Don't drown. And I was inundated with just all these names and titles, and I'm meeting people like you, Mike, at the club, and you're telling me about your band and what you want to do, and I'm just like, who are you again?
Yeah.
It's just the music's loud. That chick looks fine over there. I'm drunk off my ass. But no, when I was with that very large corporate radio station, they held such a tight stranglehold when it came to new music, and there were so many reasons why. They never told me, but I knew. But I had to keep my mouth shut because I'm just a soldier. You know what I mean? But I was very adamant about new music. I've always been that way. It didn't matter what format. So I was always that guy that I wanted to be the first. When I was just a mixer at a top 40 station, I wanted to be the first one that broke new music.
Yeah, to break it.
Right? Then when I started going into the Tejano music, I mean, they were holding on to their classic like their life depended on it. And it left folks like you guys who are new artists out there holding an empty bag with nothing to say, hey, look, I got this station. I got this. We got record folks that they're saying, if they're playing it over there in San Antonio, you definitely got to be playing it in your market because Tejano's the capital of Tejano music. I mean, San Antonio is the capital of Tejano music. So I was very aggressive when I was working at that station. I was in that man's ear, and we all know who we're talking about here.
Were your hands tied because the owners of the station were those big Mexico conglomerate companies? Or was it like, were they telling you to play only there? Like, I don't understand. I need.
Well,
more.
the thing is that big corporations have big structures. They got rules galore, and you can't do nothing about it. People need to fight for their jobs. They need to have their jobs. And I'm not dissing on them. I'm not. It's like before anybody starts posting stuff on there, I am not dissing on them. But I'll tell you this much. I've seen enough in the back of the scenes to know that there is just a slew of things that you have to go through just to get heard. Saw it firsthand, right? Now, where I'm at, I love them. But they're giving me the power. And to me, that enables me to say, okay, let me bring back, my Dale or Chale, but I wanted it differently.
Nobody ever Chales, though. They only
No,
dolly.
no, seriously, they are out there.
Okay.
You give Raza a reason to talk shit, they're gonna talk shit.
We
All right?
enjoy
Here,
it.
I did the first curse word.
Yeah, there you go.
Premier customer.
Had a
Thank
bet
you.
on you. You're gonna win.
We were all holding it in there.
No, if you give them a reason to talk smack, they're gonna talk. They're gonna. Why? Because Raza likes to put each other down. Let's just put that. I'm gonna put that out there. All right.
Well, I
And
feel
we
like they
need to
do
change
it.
that.
Yeah,
That's
they
never
do
going
it
to
'cause
change.
they
No, wait. There's
assume.
that is never going to change. The only thing we can do is bob and weave. If you've ever been in a fight, you need a bob and weave. If not, you take that hit in the face, you're going down for a count. All right. So
I took an
person that's
MMA class and I lost a fight to a 12-year-old. I'm just going to put that
I
out there.
believe that. I
Yes.
believe that. So, but what I mean by that,
Spider monkey.
but what I mean by that is you got to keep moving. You have to have different approaches to talk to, have the same conversation, but with different verbiage. I tell a lot of record people, as a matter of fact, I had this conversation with another record person that has a hard time getting her music on a radio station. I said, what you need to do is like an airplane, you like a crop duster. You crop dust your new music. Hey, there's my CD. When you got a moment, take a listen. Let a couple of days go by, and then drop a text message, email, or whatever. Hey, did you get to listen to that song? No? All right, fine. Go back and go around. Now, if that program director is smart, and no, wait, let me take that back. If that program director has balls, he is going to make a change in his format and break glass. That's the problem with this industry right now. There's not enough programmers out there that can break glass. I used to have a program director by the name of Candyman, and he always told me, you better have a break that is so unforgettable, people will talk about it for weeks on end. Now, if you ever look at my timeline or my this happened 12 years ago on Facebook, you'll see that I used to do stunts on the radio that people would actually corner me in the club. I was like, hey, did they really hoisted you 25 feet in the air and they kicked footballs on to hit you for Prince tickets? And I said,
gosh.
yes.
Wow.
Is it true that you got half naked and you watched 102 cars with your bare body just so you could get attention? I said, yes.
Oh, wow.
Does anybody still do that?
No. You wanna know
I
why?
remember going to like celebrity baseball games and celebrity bowling tournaments and I got asked to do all kinds of stuff. I'm not an athletic person. I literally almost made a score for the other team. But
But this
those
is
were
a little
fun,
out
yeah.
there. This is like totally
I've never
off.
gotten half naked and washed a
I
car
was gonna
with
say,
my
that's
boobs.
totally off.
Well, no, but see, but the thing, well, hold on. The thing was, is that I wanted to make my impact.
Totally different.
So I wouldn't be like, like no other third morning show wheel. I'm the one that's going to break apart from the pack, and then no matter what I do, they're going to say, whoa, hold on, watch. He about to do something really stupid. Keep an eye on him. Same thing with music. Sometimes you're going to have to take that risk. Sometimes you're going to have to take that chance. And then people who love music, people who love Tejano music, they'll say, hey, that sounded pretty good, man. And if I'm real with it, because and if you ever catch the show, I am. If I don't like what I hear, I'm going to tell the artist. And there's a story that I probably shouldn't be telling it because I know she's going to start crying. There's an artist where I practically made her cry, because I said, look, if you're going to do a rendition of a song, call it, this is my rendition. You can find it on my new album and leave it alone like that. Don't come at me and say, hey, this is my latest single. Because you're saying that you're coming up with original content. All right? So when I hear it, I'm like, no, I've heard this before. Exact everything's just different voices. That's it. Nothing new to it.
Yeah, some of them are exact copies,
And
like carbon
identical
copies of the
copies.
original. Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Well, and I
Yeah,
think to go on to what you were
exactly.
saying, we have to remember it's hard to think about it because these icons are still so dominating in our industry. But all the hits that everybody plays from Mas, early '90s, right? Early to mid '90s.
Yep.
When we talk about Vuelvo or any of the capital EMI stuff, any of the capital stuff is all 90s, right? Mas was recording since, 76, 78? Anybody out there listening that, I love Mas, okay, name one of those songs from the first 15 years that they're recording. You can't. It took them time to get to that point.
Right.
You can't just say, this is my first album. Well, I didn't get play, so I'm out. I'm done. No, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep trying. You gotta keep
Persistence.
doing and finding that sound, right? Finding what works for you, what works for radio, what works for the people that are listening to you. But you're not going to do that with one album.
Nope.
You're not going to do it with 2 albums. You may not do it with 4. How many did Selena do with Manny? Gilbert might know that answer. I don't know, but she did. She had a few before she really hit it. And even those aren't the ones that are still, that everybody plays all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing all the cumbias that she had later when
Now-
she already developed all that, you know? So when you're talking about people that are coming to you with stuff that just didn't work, it goes back to what I'm saying. Don't take it personal. Don't take it, you know, as a, as don't take it as a, oh man, well they didn't like me, so I'm
You
done.
suck, so
know,
I'm gonna quit now.
That's not it. But you know, you don't, in no other,
That's how I feel about cooking. Well, that's it. I'm never going to cook
in
again.
no other job on earth, and no other even creative art form on earth, do you get to just walk in and say, "Hey, I'm great, right? This is my first attempt, so I'm amazing, right?" No, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, you
That's
know.
right.
Aside from that, segueing from that, which these are all really fabulous points that you're making, and I'm feeling educated already. I'm like, shit, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Son of a bitch. There's this sort of struggle from the audience, where do we target the younger audience or target the older audience, and how do you separate the two? Like, it seems like they're always at odds, the older audience versus
Man.
the newer audience, because the
There's
older
that
audience
question.
get
Yeah. Who's first?
pissed off.
It's hard
when you
figuring
come
out
up
a
with new
mix.
music.
Yeah, that's
You-
the
Come
same
on,
thing.
Dave.
Answer this one.
It's really hard figuring out a mix that works, and a lot of it comes in how the disc jockey billboards the music when he plays it. Because, you know, I always joke because in our library I've got AC/DC's Highway to Hell. And I tell my jocks, if you want to play that, that's fine. But the next song, by God, better be David Lee Garza, you know? And so, you know, variety, as we all know, Tejanos like variety. They, you know, country music's okay, you know?
That is
Some pop.
A lot of rock.
A lot of rock,
Yeah.
and you know, so those are okay, but I like it done by Tejano artists. I like Tejano artists, for instance, to do English tunes or at least bilingual.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to really appreciate that a lot. I mean, like when I listened to a pop song on the radio, and then like Saturday morning when Mom's cooking breakfast, getting ready to do the cleaning thing, and she turned it on her station, and then like 15 minutes later, I'm listening to, I know what he's singing about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
Hey,
thought
that's that one. I was just listening to that song on the top 40 station. That's
Yeah.
cool.
I thought the chair was Ram's song for years. I grew up hearing his version. My dad loved his version. I had
Never-ending
never heard,
love
I had
for
never
you. I thought
heard
that was
the
Ram's.
original, you know,
Really?
until way later. I was like, oh man, I thought.
Damn. But, you know, going back to how do you probably intertwine or what do you choose, young or old? I'll tell you this much. The old people are always going to be there. Anybody who's above 51, because I'm 50, I apologize. I didn't mean to assault you, but they're always going to be there. You want to know why? Because we are the only ones they got.
But as an artist, when you're trying to develop new music, should we just start coming up with new concepts? Should we start coming up with new concepts, or should we stick to?
There's nothing wrong with sticking with the I always say this is how we take the new from the old from the new.
Yeah.
Right? If you find a way to intertwine and make something happen from there, kudos to you because you're
Yep.
doing some work.
I've noticed that like
Yep,
Stephanie
lots of
and
work.
Gabriel have been doing
Oh, my God.
like pop like Tejano versions of pop songs, and
Yeah.
I love it. I'm sorry, but I love it so much. I love it so much, and I think the thing about it that I love the most is because I hear the Tejano in it, but it's like tickling my senses because I'm hearing chord progressions of pop music, and I'd like to see that, but with original songs, like new chord progressions written.
You have to have new. You
Yeah.
have to have new.
Yeah, we can't just keep copying
and
pop songs.
and eventually,
recording them
an
in time.
artist needs an image song, something that when you hear that song,
It defines them.
that's you.
defines them,
That's
that's
you. And so it's all about balance. It's all about making some real serious decisions. Usually an artist starts out with covers and that sort of thing, which is okay.
At least 25 covers.
You know,
At least.
it gets them warmed up. It lets people know that at least they can sing and hit the notes and have metering and all that kind of stuff. But to me, the real mastering of the artistry is when they can take a song that nobody's ever done before, put their feeling into it, put their emotion into it, and their soul in it, and let that soul roll. And that, to me, is a true musician.
I like it.
I'm
agree.
gonna
He's
be
like, I
the
totally disagree.
yeah, I'm
No,
gonna be the voice of opposition. Not that I don't agree with what you guys are saying, but
but no.
I think, and this is coming from, I came in way after the big boom in Tejano, and I came in even as a listener. I didn't really get into it till I was a teenager, and it was a different time already for the music that was being put out. The way that you were consuming music was different. I look at Tejano music like I look at jazz. Jazz is a beautiful art form that is never going to go anywhere.
Yep.
And the people that like jazz really love it. They're never going to leave it. The people that play jazz really love it, and they're never going to leave it. And Tejano's the same way. And when you look at a jazz radio station, or and again, the comparisons are kind of freaky when I think about it. There aren't many FM stations that play only jazz, but there are some. And they program the old hits and new stuff, and it's new covers. And people, how many times are people going to re-record the same songs on a jazz record? And why is it okay for them to do it, but not okay for us to do it? Why is it okay that Michael Bublé can go play everything exactly the same way Frank Sinatra did, and all these same songs, but it's okay. But it's not okay for somebody else to do it. Why is it okay for accordion players to play 100-year-old polkas, all of them, same? People love them. What's wrong with that? Yeah, and I get what you were saying earlier. Don't say that it's your new single. Yeah, it's not yours, but play it. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
That's part of what we do. So when we're recording, like he was saying about covers, yeah, if you can do a cover and do your own thing to it, why not? It's a great song that people already love. And the people that are here, like you were saying, the ones that are here, we're never going to lose them.
Yeah.
They love those songs already. So if you're giving them a fresh take on that song, well,
They can appreciate it.
yeah, what's the problem with that? And if you can give them something new, then yeah. But on the artist side, and even on the radio side, in the last 15 years, can we collectively name 5 songs that are hits as big as stuff that was big 20 years ago?
That's new.
No.
That's new? You know what I mean? No. Even from those artists. Because, David Lee, Elida, Jay, Stephanie, they've been putting out some amazing recordings. People aren't going to respond like they do to Duele and Ven a Mi and all these. Their hits, that was a different time. It was, promotion was different. The visibility was different. There's so much different. But it doesn't mean that it's bad right now. It just means
Right.
that it's different right now.
Right.
But so going back to the original question of, do you try to keep the older crowd or do you try to keep the younger crowd or get a younger crowd? I don't think that we have to necessarily
Pick one.
try
Pick
to
one.
pick one if we're doing what we do best, and that's Tejano music.
Yeah. Well,
I think
and
the
in
people that love it are
marketing
going to find
strategy,
it.
They tell you need to find a niche. Find a niche
My
and
niche.
stick to it. And then the people will identify you with that thing.
And they're gonna like
do
it.
that one thing good. Don't try to do anything else. Don't veer off your formula. Stick to it. Me, I'm not. Okay. Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
don't try to redirect Tejano music. At least don't do it quickly. In other words, if you got some unique style that you think,
But it
well,
has to still be recognizable as Tejano.
yeah,
in other
it's
words.
still
Yeah.
gotta. But so many artists have come along, and all of a sudden they're doing some whole different style that ain't even close to what they're used to doing, and I think that deteriorates that artist.
I'd have to disagree with you on that because there's an artist that I could just name off the top of my head, and we were playing this song. It was DJ Kane. He has this song that's straight up. It is straight up pop, hip hop pop. And the first time I heard it, I really wasn't paying attention. I have a music laid down, and either I'm working with a caller, working with my co-host, or working with whatever I got going on to talk about, right? So I stumbled upon it by watching the needles on the board go into red, and you know if it's red, you're about to be dead.
It's hot.
So, so
Yeah.
I turned on the volume. I don't know who I was talking to. So hold on 1 second. And then I was listening. I was like, what the hell is this? I go, this isn't Tejano. And then I'm hearing Kane sing, and I was like, oh man, that would sound great on a top 40 station, you know?
But not on this station.
Well, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. So I had that song, and I got to apologize because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I kept in the back of my head the title. So every time I would look at my music when I'm massaging my log for the hour, I said, oh, I'm going to make sure I listen in really intently to the before and after. If I'm talking, I'm going to listen to the song. I'm going to listen to everything. I'm on Facebook Live. I'm going to watch it later on, right? So I was not going to talk. So I'm going to go song, Kane, song, 3 in a row, pow. Great. So I listened to it, and the flow was nice. Now, I was always told, you know, being someone that's had many of consultants and program directors whoop me into the man I am right now. If the flow is good, people are going to tolerate it. Like, you got to remember, I came from a top 40 radio station that played Aerosmith. I don't want to miss a thing. A rock song. Right? Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to this intently, and then I'm like, yeah, that sounded pretty good.
Do you think that's a step in the right direction? Because
Yes.
like my first album was half English. It was Latin sounding, but it wasn't formatted for Tejano
How long ago
radio.
was that?
It was a long time ago,
Exactly.
but they weren't doing that back then. Is this a new direction? Do you think that Tejano music is leading into where Tejano acts are being allowed sort of to veer off the regular formula and do some pop music to maybe get their faces out there to a bigger
They've always
audience?
done it.
Well, yeah, I think
always
that's
done it.
always been. I think that might be part of the problem of what we stopped doing. You know, I mean, you look at going back to, you know, Sonny Osuna used to put out full-on English records.
Yep.
Yeah.
In between full-on Spanish records.
Mm-hmm.
The Latin Breed, you listen to, you know, some of their records. There's only 4 rancheras on. There's 12 songs on a lot of those albums, 6 per side. 4 rancheras, no cumbias, some English, some this, some that, some salsa, whatever. Little Joe, same thing.
Yep.
You know, you listen to Para la Gente that has Las Nubes on it. Half that album wouldn't be played on Tejano radio. You know, but they were
But the
artistic about it, and they stayed true to what they wanted to do. You know, and
AJ Castillo almost blew it because he went off on a weird direction for a while. I'll never forget us doing an interview with him one time, and he's talking about his new movement, which is what he called it.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right. And I turned to him and I said, you know, AJ, I had a new movement this morning, and it was great.
The tension is already gone. No, you know, I feel that AJ, he was on the right path. The new movement was a good idea at the time. Because again, this is that man right there is a smart businessman because he had his finger on the pulse of what was hot, and he capitalized on it.
But he was early.
He was alert. Yeah, he was early. He was, but I think it's because he wanted to make that mark and let me be the first one. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But like
I
the
think
album,
he was big enough to take a hit, really. To some,
At the
you got to
time,
be
yes.
big enough to be able to take that blow.
Well, and you know, as a label, the most important thing for us is that the artist shines in whatever it is they're doing. Because it doesn't, if they change it here and change it there and they're doing it well, people feel it and they will play it. They will like it. So that's going outside the box. So I think now that is open. I mean, more people are more open than ever before because we have all these crossovers everywhere. But it has to be done right. They got to feel it. They got to be good with it. Not just like, you know, that doesn't become you. You can't be doing mariachi if it doesn't work with you. It doesn't work with you,
Yeah,
right?
well, and I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about what do people want to hear? Well, that almost doesn't matter. You need to do what you want to do and what you feel.
Right.
And then if they like it, they like it. If they don't, then you can decide, oh, well, let me try something else. But, you know, if we're chasing what they want is for us to be who we are.
Yeah, I feel
And
like
they want us to do
with
what we
music,
love to
there's
do.
2 categories. There's the people who love to do and create, and then there's the people who are like, this, I got to make money, and if this next record doesn't cut it, I'm gonna go back to mowing lawns, and because mowing lawns makes me more. I'm gonna sell shaved ice. I don't care what anybody sells. I'm gonna keep selling my shaved ice. You know why? Because I make money doing it. I make good money doing it, and you can't deter me otherwise.
Well, I think that's a big thing that anybody up here would say too. If you're in it to make money, then you've already lost the game
Yeah,
here. You
so
know what
don't
I mean?
quit your day
we're
job,
not
because then
not
it'll
doing
stop
that for
being
this.
fun, and it'll start
We
being.
do it because
a
we
headache.
love it. You know,
Exactly.
we do it because we love it. And that being said, I think, you know, my personal opinion, like I was saying earlier, is if you're going to do it, you know, when we started our label, the few artists that we have, I said, look, if we're going to be broke making records anyway, we might as well make the kind of records we want to make.
Exactly.
You
That's
know?
what I'm
And so
saying, yeah.
it's not about, you know, if radio finds that it works for them and it works for people, then obviously that's amazing. But if not, if it was something that we enjoyed making and something we enjoy listening to, well, you weren't gonna pay your house off with this album either way.
Yeah. Now, from
It's important to I think to up our game a bit. Look at those pop artists and even hip hop artists who are successful. What are they doing in the industry? What are they doing with public relations? What are they doing with all kinds of promotions and stuff that makes them superstars?
Well, I think
Well,
that's
thank
hard
you.
though. I think that's hard though,
what?
Dave, because they got you know a crew of 50 people behind each
no,
artist
I
and
got-
millions
I
of
got one-
dollars.
I
you know?
got one artist that I follow him on social media, and I've been following his story. This is kid. He's a Latin kid. You know, 6'9", whatever his name. He's a rainbow kid. I call him the rainbow kid. The man has 20 million viewers on Instagram, all for talking smack and with no fear, none whatsoever. Thing is, people love the spectacle. All right, so has nothing to do with Tejano music. All right, but I'll tell you this much: the artist that does something that creates the spectacle is always going to have success. Case in point.
But is that something that's missing? We don't have any. Well, recently we have had. We don't have any. What's the word? Not,
me a
not-
second.
not conflict. Not conflict, but there's no like.
There's no bad boy.
There's no rag magazines saying, "Oh, this is who's dating who." Getting into our personal lives, because all of our personal lives are already on Facebook.
Well, I mean that's true, but I can answer that real
Okay.
quick for you. You want to know why? Because Tejano artists,
Scandal.
yeah,
We
Tejano
need
artists are
scandal.
smarter. Tejano artists are smarter.
Darn you, Tejano artists! I need some
They're
scandal.
smarter.
I enjoy
think-
a good chisme.
And I think people
The
would
real
agree that,
story.
that
Yeah, the
as
real story.
as the fan base aged, things became more family based. You know,
Yeah.
Tejano music in general is something you share with your family.
With your
So
family,
you
your
don't want your
quinceañeras.
kids listening to, you know, or seeing certain things about certain people, and they have enough of that everywhere else. If we can be more true to the art form, then
Yeah,
the
but
rest
there's
of it doesn't matter.
There's a transitional age for that, though. I think like when you start having kids, then you're like, hey, I don't think I want to listen to Cardi B anymore, even though every time that song hits, I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's absolutely right. It's very Tejano. It's very family orientated. So is country. You know, and I think that's
Yeah,
why,
but how many country artists are out there that get mixed up in a scandal because they say a racist comment, whoever that guy is?
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
they're
that
big
kid.
trouble.
And he still made it onto SNL even after that. They still brought him back.
Sometimes they
You know what
stop
I mean?
selling records and they're out. But, you know, I mean, there's that controversy, but I think we're very family orientated. And that's why when you go to the quinceañeras and you go to the carnivals, you hear Tejano music.
But I feel like there's room for scandal. Can we just have some scandal?
I think we've had enough in the last.
I know the last couple of events have been pretty
I'm
scandalous.
sorry.
Yeah.
Look.
I loved it.
Hey, look, look, watch.
What you got in mind, dear?
We could use some
Looking for
scandal
trouble.
today. I mean,
Well,
take it to the other room.
On my show, there's one solid rule. Everything is real, nothing is fake. If I'm having a crappy day, I'm telling you I'm having a crappy day. If I'm hungover, I'm telling you I'm hungover. All right? I love booze. I love women. I like having a good time.
Bam.
All right?
Bam. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
All
bitches.
right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, I grew up in that era,
Wow.
and I don't think I should ever slow down. If you slow down, of course, you
You get old. And
get old. And,
arthritis.
yeah. Liver spots, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway. So when I look at my artists, I don't look at what the actions they've done. We're all human here.
Yep.
You mean to tell me that not one person in this panel has taken an extra packet of sweet and low from the restaurant?
Oh yeah,
Thief.
I have a whole drawer for that.
Thief. You see what I mean?
I like
I was
stevia,
like,
people.
I mean, it's sizes of the situation. Good, bad. I don't care.
But I feel like the scandal brought us the two major scandals that recently happened. We can address them, or we don't have to. Whatever.
No.
I'm uncomfortable with is that every single person here probably we all saw the same porn film.
I don't think I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it.
And it's very interesting because I never got on the phone so much with all my La Onda connections. I was on the phone
what
for
were you doing?
hours.
What were you doing? What were you doing?
We talked about it, and I
See, that's what I
talked
mean.
about it
That's
with
what
like
I'm
8 different
saying.
people.
Lassa likes to talk
We do
smack.
like to talk, but I feel like I'm not saying, hey, could you go out and expose yourself so that we can get some scandal?
But
I'm sure
they're
there's-
okay with that.
But I guess then the question is, does that scandal turn into record sales? Or turn into people buying tickets for
That's
you?
the question. Does it?
You know?
Had-
And if it
did
doesn't,
That's the
then what does it
question.
matter?
Does he still have a job?
You know? Huh?
Does he still have a job?
I don't know what his job was before, so I don't know.
He's a
Well,
part of.
he
very
was a
popular-
volunteer. That I think.
That is-
so
well,
He's
they-
a volunteer.
they said he was a volunteer at the
okay.
church. So he's no yeah.
But do you get what I'm saying? I'm into the chisme too. I love to. One of the reasons I love hanging out at Gilbert's because everybody comes in here and you hear all the stories. But
If I was a fly on the wall at
yeah.
Gilbert Studio, I tell you right now.
but
Imagine what you guys say
that's
about me.
you know.
Oh, we talk all kinds of mess about you, baby boy.
But
Come
I
on.
think that's the bottom line: is does it translate to more listeners? Does it translate to record sales? Does it translate to more people at the dance?
I think
don't
it
know.
does, and let me tell you why. Because after those two major things happened, I could sense myself actively looking into whatever I can get a hold of. I was looking into it, and then and in the process discovered new artists that have been around for a while. They're not even new anymore, but I just never heard of them before, and started learning and started investigating, and now I have a little bit of a bigger of a foothold on the industry than I had before because I watched the same video that everybody else did.
that's a valid point. It's a valid
I had
point,
to.
yeah.
I was like, whoa! I've never seen that. Wow. So okay. Anyways.
But I don't think that's a recommendation of
Yeah,
this
No,
but
panel,
yeah,
right?
not-
That's
don't
not-
go that
I mean,
far, like,
it
on
depends,
purpose.
It depends where you get me and where I'm at and all that stuff.
But
I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna lie.
if
I'm not gonna lie.
if
I
we
have done
had
things
like
in public
a
that you guys will never believe.
Well,
Do we got time? Do we got time?
You know, like you're saying, everybody has their stories, whatever. But you know, I'd hate
But
to
local
be-
news doesn't pick up any of our stories.
Yeah.
Like if Katy Perry started dating some dude, everybody would know
Everyone
about
knows.
it.
Mama
But
talking
if
about
I
it.
started, I was engaged to another major Tejano music celebrity, and nope, I was engaged to Max Baca for a minute.
Yeah.
And
Everybody knew.
and well, I mean, yeah, but nope, it wasn't like something that. Oh, can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Is that a story? It wasn't a story. I mean, not that I'm saying, oh, it should have been a story because we were like some power couple or whatever, but there's not an outlet for chisme.
Well, let me tell you. Let me.
Can
let me
somebody do
address
that? Can you just somebody
Okay,
just
I
come
think
up with a
you should
magazine?
do that.
Yeah.
You know what? That right there, it should be addressed.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because the more things that we add to our genre, to talk about, to act about, to to just basically do, the better for the music sales, the better for the tune-ins.
Exactly.
That's what I say. Is like when I'm on the air, I don't say anything just to say it. It's got to be right. And it's got to be at the moment because, I mean, out there they smell it. They
but
sense
even
it.
on your show, when you do like news updates, you're also talking
I'm
about like
talking
the
about
Katy Perrys
I'm
of
talking
the
about
world.
Katy Perry. You want to know why?
No, but I
Because-
want you to talk about me.
Hey, sister,
about me, come on.
sister. If I see on Facebook, if I see on Facebook that you tried to make a triple decker layer cake, and it bombed.
Oh yeah, that's gonna.
I
Bomb.
said, did you just see
It's
how
gonna bomb.
terrible Rebecca looked to her? Oh my God! I imagine if her kids are just starving. They're going out eating cat food because they hate her cooking. You know what I mean?
They do. They do.
You know what? I
Everything
will
you're
get-
saying is
and-
truth right now.
And well, I will get crucified for bashing an artist.
Oh, you
I
think
will,
so?
For bashing.
Well,
artists.
and-
it's a difference between bashing you and bashing Katy Perry. Katy Perry could care less about what Bigg Boye's got to say.
I don't. I just want to be spoken about. It's okay.
The Tejano Nation does a good job of.
They do a great
of,
job.
You
Do they?
know,
Okay.
keeping news going, but them too. They tried that once. I can't remember what the story was, but they kind of just said a story what happened, and they got a lot of backlash because it's like, oh, well, we should be better than that. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff, and it's like, okay, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah,
But
that's
like
your
you said,
opinion.
But
I need to
everybody's
hear more.
interested,
Yeah.
But that's the thing, and that is a problem. We're looking at our artists like their stuff don't stink. You know
It
what I
stinks
mean?
so good.
It stinks, and it doesn't stink good most of the time. There's times where I come in contact with a few artists in the industry where I said, "Oh shit, man, I'm gonna have to deal with this guy." I'm professional.
I
I'm
get that a
professional.
lot,
I'm
yeah.
professional enough to I can handle the job, but in the back of my mind, I want to puke. All right, I do.
You don't want to name names?
Here comes the cheese.
The names will be in the comments below, people.
Well,
Just
was
go
your,
ahead and,
what's
and
your
make your
disclaimer?
guesses.
These views are only those of Bigg Boyee.
Make sure to like and subscribe, Chingo.
Like and subscribe.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. Shit.
No, and but the thing is, man, is like, I know that there's a job to be done. They're an artist. They're paving their way into the street. They're making moves. I'm gonna support them. But if I saw them the night before with some other girl, they say, hey, hey, who was that nice number you were with at the bar the other night? And I could just see this. They're like,
Oh, no.
and I was like, oh yeah, cabron, man, hey, you want to be a badass and do that? If you know what's going on there, man,
Own
you
your
know that there's-
badassness.
yeah, own your badassness.
Own it.
I'll put a mirror in front of your face. You don't like what you see? That is on you, puppy.
You
That
got
is
it.
on you.
If you don't want to get caught, don't do it.
That's
Don't
right.
do it, That's why a lot of artists are really kind of cautious around me. They're like, watch it, there's Bigg Boyee.
Oh, he's watching you. He's got his
watching
camera
me.
out.
He's got his. He's like, is he on live? Is he on live? Because if he's on live, he's gonna put me on there. I don't want to be on live.
I feel like more people are going to be pulling their cameras out at Tejano
Of
concerts
course.
now, just to see.
You
what
don't know how
they
many
can
times that they have. I get it pulled out on me.
catch. Do it. Oh, sorry.
I'm like, what do you want me to do? I was like, I'm sitting there at Whataburger eating a burger. And I'm like, hi.
We caught up with Bigg Boyee at
I'm a fan
Whataburger.
of your show, bro. Say something.
Oh,
I'm about to eat. I'm about to eat.
I wish I had them problems though. I know that sounds terrible because I'm like all desperate to be big and famous and stuff, but I am.
You are.
But I am,
You are.
and too so are a bunch of other people, and that brings me to another good question: is what is like the ultimate combo in your opinions of what would make a good brand new artist today? Like if somebody came out fresh, and you were like, okay, let me just do it for instance. If you saw, say, some young man, attractive kid, singing some Maz cover tunes, sounds freaking awesome, and you're like, this guy needs to be doing something. He needs to do something. I hope he doesn't screw it up. This is what he should do. He needs to get this. He needs to call this person. And if he did all of these things, that kid would probably make it. What are those things that he should do?
Boy, that's a really big question because, the way I see it, when a kid goes to college and they have the skill for computers or to be a doctor, they invest in school, and it costs money. So if someone is got the talent, they're going to have to realize there's going to be an investment in developing the talent, getting the talent out there, because they got to record it, they got to promote it, they got to develop it.
So
and
they
it's got to
need
be
get
real.
a hold of somebody
right?
that can finance them, like an uncle or a grandpa or something,
Dying relative.
or a grandma.
Dying relative.
Yeah, because there's nothing free in this world, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. Whatever job you're doing, you're going to invest in it if
So
you're
you
going to
need
be successful
money.
at it.
And there's
Money
going
number
to
one.
be sacrifices.
There will always be sacrifices.
I mean, I give a lot of artists credit for the sacrifices that they do. Some of them, they say, okay, I'm just going to make this my career, whatever it takes, and they're eating beans and rice.
Yep.
Well, they're going to eat that anyways.
Because
I don't care how
that,
successful
I
I
was
get.
making
I'm
a
eating
lot of
beans and
money
rice.
when I was working at that corporate company, and I'm still eating bean rice.
yeah, really. And so that's something that has to be built into their head, into their passion, I think. If they're going to be passionate enough to be an artist, they have to accept whatever sacrifices. They have to use their money wisely
Very wisely.
in the promotion, because I'll tell you, there's some crooks out there that will take you for whatever money you got and do
I know
nothing.
some of them.
And
Yeah.
you know,
I'm friends with
and
these guys.
sadly enough, there are a few of legendary Tejano artists that have done great things and opened big doors, and they've passed away, and they don't even have money to get buried.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they were taken advantage of back in the days, and I'm not saying anything bad about managers or labels, but because they didn't know better, they didn't get what they deserved. So when it comes to the end of the road, they have nothing, and they don't, you can't even get buried. There's a couple that have passed away recently. Those stories really hurt me, because this is our family, this is our gente, and nobody takes care of them. And, you know, the artists are artists because it's their passion, it's their love. And I think as an industry, we do need to support them and guide them and direct them. And this is where the program directors come in, and the managers, you know, they need to be open and educate. It's not as easy as going to college, because everything's in the book in college. You know, there is no book or magic formula for our industry.
Yeah, because it's a
You know,
niche industry. The Tejano market
Yeah,
itself is different.
and we need people to give input to help at least guide us and get us the right roads to where there can be some success, and we don't get taken advantage. I'm talking to artists in general. They're not taken advantage of. So at the end of the road, they have something. Even if it is rice and beans, they can get a headstone and they can get buried. And I am very passionate about that, because I keep seeing it happen over and over to
And it
some of our
sucks.
and legendary
Sucks 'cause
artists.
they're
Well, and-
huge, big, stinking
know?
artists that we grew up with,
And
and
they made
to realize
history.
they weren't taken care of.
Yes.
That's
yes.
that's a travesty.
But that could have been prevented.
could
You
have.
know, it could have been prevented,
But
and
it didn't.
it can for everybody
And
else
we
that's
need
doing
to
it now.
make
Because just
change.
like what she said, when you go to become a doctor or a graphic designer or anything, you do have to take these classes, and you do have to learn these skills. They may not be exactly what you're gonna exactly the way that it's laid out in the book when you get to your job. Well, that's the same thing for us. There are books that exist that tell you about, you know,
But we
how
also
to-
need
how
to
to
take care of
construct
each other, because we've
yeah,
both witnessed
yeah, but
people getting taken advantage of. If we don't speak up and say, this dude right here, he's a snake.
yes,
He's taking advantage.
yes, but
and you
por
need to stop
pendejo,
doing
if you're
business
there
that way.
standing there and you don't know the difference either between the snake standing in front of you and the other guy standing next to him, well, you know, you got to do your homework too. We can't go save everybody.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean?
But we can
you can
speak
you
up when we
can
see
but
it.
you can also educate yourself up to a
We
certain
can name
point.
names on this show right here and now.
You can educate yourself up to a certain point. Hey, how do contracts work? How much should I be paying a manager if I get one? How much does an attorney cost if I need him to look over a contract for me? And a lot of that stuff isn't like hidden information. You can find it.
It's not
you
a
can
secret
buy these
anymore.
books. No,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's right.
And
It's
you
Google
should
now.
be doing it
That's right.
because it's not like it was. And
Yes.
part of what we're talking about with those artists, why that happened, is because they had people that did everything for them, and then all of a sudden, all those people are gone, and now they have to do it. Well, what do they do?
They don't know.
How do they know
Right.
how to do it? What are they doing to make it happen the right
Is
way?
there like
you
an
know?
And back
official
in the days-
retirement facility for
You know,
Tejano stars?
Believe it or not, there's an organization. I remember when I was let go by that corporate station. I applied for assistance for there was this organization for radio DJs. I
Nice.
kid you not, there is an
Nice. Very
that
nice.
I didn't get it. I didn't get
Yeah,
it.
you don't qualify, buddy.
I don't know why I didn't qualify. I sent the application out, it just didn't happen. But they said, people who, they looked at the industry as that people who serve a community. As a matter of fact, as broadcasters, that's what we're supposed to do. It's time for the community to look out for them for whatever reason. Whether they retired too early, or maybe they just got let go from their job. This organization is going to help them get on their feet. And I forgot what radio station I was doing here in San Antonio, but I was listening to it and I said, you know what, I'm going to call that number. Well, obviously, it was an email. It was an email. I sent it out there, and I filled out the process. I never got accepted, but I know there's one for...
There's one that exists.
There's one that exists for radio people. I don't know if there's
I
one
feel
for-
like we tried to do that about 10 or 15 years ago to put together like a union or something to help all of us get medical insurance at one point.
Well, and one thing I do want to go over, because I think it's very important that he did touch on this, is yes, now because of internet, we can learn. And, if you don't have the money for college, you can get on the internet and study music, study publishing. The contracts are there. Back in the days, it was like taboo. The labels didn't tell you. I'm sorry. I mean, I am a label, and I've recorded with other labels, and I know what that's like.
She's seen it, in other words.
Yeah.
She's seen the deeds.
Seen both sides.
And so now we can educate
Yes.
ourselves.
And we need to.
And we need to be successful.
If this is going to be what you're doing for a living, you would never go anywhere else in any other job and just show up and say, "Well, I've got part of it down, so I'm here."
There's
You
one
never-
job
you
where
could
you
never
don't
do
need
that.
any experience whatsoever.
But you know what I mean? You'd never, I would never try to say that I'm a plumber. I bought one of those kits from Lowe's and I installed a new sink in my kitchen.
With YouTube?
It works. Yeah, and with the instructions that they
Yeah.
gave. But people smarter than me made it to where even I couldn't mess it up to do it. I don't know how all of that works, but they told me what to do that, right? And now I have a working sink that I like in my house. But I would never try to go to somebody else's house and say, "Hey, I could fix your sink. I'm a plumber. I've done this before." You know? So just
I
because
can have that done in 20 minutes.
yeah,
Get out of my
but
way.
you know what I mean? So you can't just leave it as much as we'd love to say we want to just focus on the music and be artists. It just doesn't work that way anymore. We can't do that. You have to be smart enough to handle the business
That's
side, and
right.
if you can't, then you do need to get somebody else to do it for you because you don't want to end up like she's talking about. We've done sadly too many of these fundraisers where we're like, "Hey, we're going to help out this guy because he's sick and he has no insurance and you know, and there are heroes and it's sad.
It's never
it
ending
is.
plate sale for us.
But it's also it kind of pisses me off because it's like, man, when they talk about the kind of money that they used to make and the way that this industry was, it's like, man, you guys made more in a year than most of us can hope to make in maybe 10 or 15. You know what I mean? Because it's just it just was like that. Okay, well,
It was.
where did all that go? So I can only feel so bad some days because it's like, man, yeah, I want to help you too, but at the same time, what did you do to help yourself in the beginning? Because nobody's sitting here babysitting us. We don't have managers.
You
We
can
don't
lead the
have
horse to water,
Yeah.
but they have to drink it.
Right.
So it's you got to educate yourself, and if it's cool with
I
you,
hate education.
if it's cool with you, I'm going to give you a list. If we could put it in the comments of some
Yeah.
books that they can read
That would be helpful.
that
I
I
think that'd
love,
be great.
that I go to all the time, and there's even a couple websites where they have just their
But you have
blogs
to
that just-
read the book.
Yes,
You can't
yes.
just be like,
Yes.
oh, there's the link.
Yeah, no,
I
and
know
there-
everything
there
now
are
because I
blogs-
saw the link. You got to click on the link, and then you got to get the book. Then you have
and
to
read it.
open it up and actually read the
And then you got to
words
keep
inside.
going from there. You got to keep up with there are blogs specifically for independent musicians and marketing and publishing and all this just basic 101 stuff that at least if you have some basic knowledge walking into a conversation, and I'm sure you would agree, if somebody walks in to talk to you about something with the record label or about publishing or about song licensing, anything, if they know nothing, you kind of don't know where to start because it's like, man, you don't have it's like somebody telling you, I want you to teach me how to divide, but I don't know what numbers are, but go.
So
It's like, well, you don't have the basics, right? So, I mean, it's very hard to give in that little conversation, what it is. And I think, our wizard behind the curtain back there, I don't know if he's listening to us, but I know we've had conversations like that too, where we talk about recording, where people come in here and they're just totally not prepared and they want to take, how do you do it? They don't even have a basic understanding for him to start explaining what it is that he does, So it's just, we gotta change that. We gotta change it to where we're educated at least to the base point
the
of being
basics.
able to
Functioning
to
level.
function
Right.
on all levels of your business, because end of the day, that's what we're all saying this is, right? It's business. Yeah, we love it. Yeah,
is
we're
a
doing this
business
music,
at
but
the end of the day.
it's business.
Now I'm going to
And-
ask
and,
each of you the same question. Go ahead.
when the artists come in, that's the first thing I will go over with them because 9 times out of 10 they don't know about the publishing and they don't know about the licensing, and whether or not they sign with me doesn't matter. They need to be aware because I tell them you need to know the business, whether you're a part of our Hacienda family or not. You need to know these things. If you're writing, you need to have your stuff registered. And that's where I just want to educate because we need to help each other at the end of the day. And so, the more artists that are out there doing things right for our Tejano industry, the more respect our industry will have and the bigger and the stronger we can be. If nobody's doing anything right, people dog us, they don't know what they're doing and we get a bad rap. We need to step up, be professional, and educate each other and do things right.
And I think the next step of that too is educating our listeners whether you're radio or the artist, on how expensive this stuff is. I mean, we don't got to be specific, but they got to know that it costs a lot of money to do what we do.
It does.
And any time that they buy a record, I mean, it's immeasurable how much that helps to people, you know. But anytime they support a sponsor from a radio station, that gives them, you know, more ganas to sponsor again, right? They get people that call in and say, "Oh yeah, I heard it on Calamo, I heard it on BNet. You know, I'm gonna go here." Man, that's all we're asking you to do. You gotta buy stuff. You gotta get your car fixed anyway. Just go to that place because they helped
They
out. You know,
support us.
you gotta
Support
you
us,
gotta
and
do
we
these
need your
things
help,
anyway.
and we're pleading to you, please, just help us.
And
Just
and
help.
on the musician side, you know, I don't think people realize. You know, I had this conversation with Henry Pena, who's a, you know, I don't even know how many years he's been in radio, 50 plus years, and here in San Antonio, and helps out with booking La 45, and he's really just a guy that we go to just to say, hey, what was it like? Because he was there through all this stuff. And I asked him, what did you guys pay? Because he's in his early 70s. So what did you guys pay for 45 when you were in high school? So 45, the record, right? One song per side, right?
A and B side.
And he said, well, I think they were about 50 cents. He said, I remember them getting up to 85 cents, you know. 85 cents for 2 songs, 60 years ago. And now we ask people to pay $1 for 1 song, 60 years later,
60
and it's too
years
much.
later.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, that's, well, why when I can stream it? Well, yeah, you can. But for that 1 song, it took us X amount of hours in the studio,
Yep.
X amount of hours practicing to get there, X amount of money to be able to record it. I mean, all this stuff comes
and never
into play.
mind the fact that we don't have major record labels that are giving us money
To
to
front
do
the
this,
money,
yeah.
yep. And then they want to complain because the stuff that we're putting out is shitty. And it's like, well, what are we working with here? You know, what are you doing to help us make better music? You're not buying the records, so you can't complain.
Why aren't they
you know?
buying the records? Why
They
aren't
download
why
them
aren't they buying
illegally.
Is that what
I
it
mean,
is?
there's a lot
I
of
mean,
burning going on, but that's always existed.
And
They have
there's,
that.
it's different now. It's
that
streaming
in
and
the
it's
back.
You
different.
damn
They have everything.
thieves. Anyways, I think today has been pretty successful. Have we hit an hour? Yeah, I think that means we hit an hour. Just right off the first name that pops your head, who's the biggest name in Tejano right now? You go first, Mike.
Oh, I say Little
Just
Joe.
say it, Mike. Come on.
Little Joe.
Little Joe. Okay. Dave.
Probably Chel.
Very good. I like that answer. Miss Michelle.
God, that's such a hard decision. I can't really
And without letting us
decide.
explain, that's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really just, I don't want to say there's just one.
Who's
To
the
me-
one to beat? Who do we need to take down? I'm just kidding.
No, there's just
I
so
got-
many
I gotta let
legends
Pipe,
like Little
and I
Joe.
wanna do
that'll- you know, so I'm just gonna have to say I can't say that there's just one because we do have great.
She's playing a safe
artists.
answer.
Yeah.
giving a safe
That's
answer.
okay. I forgive
all
you.
right.
But
I
no,
forgive you.
I love them all. I mean,
And you know what?
I
That's
couldn't
not
say
the
it,
question,
you know.
though. Everybody knows I love them in the industry. Everyone does. But Mike, man, you know I'll find someone else that's probably better than you. Just like you can
yeah.
find another DJ that's probably
Oh,
better than me.
That-
You know what I'm saying? Look, who do I think is top of the game right now? Jay Bettis.
Very
I heard
good.
he has a great album out. Everybody's. been
I heard
talking about
he
it.
spent a good
God, I can't
time,
believe I said
a long
that
time
name.
doing that album.
It sickens me
Well,
as somebody
and you
because
love him so much.
last no, I love him so much, but damn, he pisses me off so much.
Pisses me off when every
Wait,
time I try to
tell
do
me about
something.
it.
Can,
he
can I
steals
say
my
can I
thunder.
say one more thing?
Yes, one more.
Because even
One
my
last thing.
answer wasn't, you know,
Yours was a safe answer. That was a totally
and
safe
it's not-
answer.
it's not
His is
safe.
like the classic. Like the
It's not.
legendary.
It's not safe. It's. He does gigs that nobody else can do. He plays
true.
places that nobody else has played,
he still
You know
and
what?
he still does it.
You know what? He's
You know?
got a point there.
He still
And
does
I
it.
agree
So
with
top
him.
of the game.
Yeah.
You know, he's not playing the clubs that the rest of us are playing.
So I should do it.
You know,
directly.
He doesn't have to.
because he doesn't have
He
to.
doesn't have
But that
to.
being said, I think that's got to be acknowledged too. That the guys that are doing it, that are newer, we're still fighting time. Not only time of this little time of new music, but we're fighting to get new music against those guys that built this house. The Tejanos don't die; they just age on forever and just
They
you
just
know,
pass it on to their kids.
And but you know, Little Joe's 6 decades in, and he's still drinks us
going,
under the
and
table.
all his shows
you know,
are
so that's
great.
why I know it might have
I
seemed like a
love
safe
Little Joe,
answer,
yeah.
but you know, it's
give
still
it.
But it's a
He
right
still
answer. It's a
rocks.
right
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
So I kind of agree there. He still rocks.
Well,
You know,
Still going.
the industry has changed so much, though. I remember a couple of years ago when one of the gripes there was there's no females in Town of Music.
There's so many now.
Now there's so many,
Yeah.
and it's all fragmented so much in that I remember when we were lucky if we got 10 or 15 new songs a month. Now we're getting 50 or 60 a month.
Bam.
So that's songs we have to sort through, decide whether it goes on or not.
And that's a good problem to have.
Well, it is, and it's a bad one too, because it doesn't let some of those maybes make it.
Well, screw the maybes. I want to be one of the ones that make it. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, well,
We love your honesty.
I know, right? This has been a wonderful first panel. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know that we could have stayed here all day. We're probably going to go have tacos after this and continue it.
That's the real conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna do the real juice after. But thank you so much for being here, and I hope we can have you back on the panel one day because I think it's been very successful. And thank you to the watchers and the listeners. Be sure to, I guess, like and subscribe on this new channel. And thank you, Gibby Velasquez, for making it all possible.
And to follow all of us on social media and make sure you guys know what we're doing.
Make sure to tag all of these people so that their people can know our people and our people can
Know their
thrive. We can thrive together. We shall rise. Anyways, thank you for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Good night, everybody.